Okay, we really need to talk about something serious. There's been a catastrophic shift in youth mental health, a sudden collapse that really kicked off around 2010. And no, this isn't just another kids are on their phones too much story. This is way deeper. We're talking about a fundamental rewiring of the adolescent brain. You know, for decades, mental health trends for young people were actually pretty stable. Sometimes they were even getting better. But then in this really short window between 2010 and 2015, something just broke. It's like the floor completely fell out from under an entire generation. And the scale of this crisis is just staggering. I mean, look at this. In the US, for girls between 10 and 14 years old, ER visits for self-harm shot up by 188%. That's not some small statistical bump. That is a massive public health alarm bell screaming at us. And it gets even more tragic. For that exact same group of young girls, the suicide rate jumped by 167%. I mean, these numbers are just heartbreaking, and they point to this deep, sudden distress that's spreading through our youngest, most vulnerable kids. And this wasn't just happening to young teens. The wave hit older kids too. Among college students here in the US, anxiety diagnoses more than doubled, a 134% climb in just a few years. It was affecting the whole generation as they got older. So what on earth happened? This wasn't some gradual shift. It wasn't a slow-moving trend. It was a tidal wave that slammed an entire generation, all at once, across the developed world. Something fundamental about childhood itself must have changed. Well, social psychologist Jonathan Haidt, he calls this moment the Great Rewiring. And he argues that it was caused by this devastating paradox in how we decided to raise our kids. A perfect storm of good intentions that unfortunately led to some really disastrous consequences. And here's the paradox he talks about. In the real world, we started overprotecting our kids like crazy. We took away risk, we discouraged them from playing unsupervised, we essentially bubble wrapped their entire childhood. But at the exact same time, we completely underprotected them in the virtual world, handing them these powerful devices with totally unfiltered, unsupervised access to, well, everything. And you can literally see it happening right here on this timeline. As childhood independence just plummeted, smartphone adoption went straight up like a rocket. So Gen Z became the very first generation in history to go through puberty with a portal to another universe in their pockets. A portal that pulled them out of the real world and plugged them into a virtual one. This didn't just change childhood, it completely rewired. Now, to really understand the damage this rewiring caused, we have to look at the two primary modes the human brain operates in. This, right here, this explains everything. Okay, first up, there's discover mode. Think of this as our brain's natural default state for learning. It's curious, it's open, it's eager to explore. It gets fired up by things like free play, by taking small risks, and learning that you can actually handle them. Imagine a kid climbing a tree. Yeah, they might fall and get a bruise, but they get back up. Their brain learns to manage fear, and it actually becomes stronger, more resilient because of that experience. But then there's defend mode. This is our internal alarm system, our threat detection software. It kicks in when we feel unsafe or judged or socially excluded. And it makes us feel anxious and cautious and constantly scanning our environment for danger. Now, it's designed to protect us, for sure, but it is not meant to be switched on 24/7. And right here, this is the core tragedy of what's being called the anxious generation. The decline of free, unsupervised play, it starved the developing brain of all those experiences it desperately needed to build up its discover mode. And at the exact same time, the rise of the phone-based childhood locked it permanently in defend mode. Think about it. Every notification, every like, every photo from a party they weren't invited to, it's all processed as a potential social threat, creating this constant humming state of anxiety. So being in this constant state of neurological defense, being trapped in defend mode, combined with just the sheer amount of time spent online, it causes 4 specific foundational harms to a developing mind. And these harms build on each other. First, you've got social deprivation. Less real face-to-face connection means every little thing online feels like a bigger social threat. Second, sleep deprivation. That anxiety from endless notifications keeps the brain on high alert, and that just wrecks sleep. Third, attention fragmentation. A brain that's constantly scanning for threats can't focus deeply on anything. And finally, addiction. I mean, let's be honest. These platforms are engineered like slot machines to hijack the brain's reward system and keep it hooked. So, what do we do? How do we fix this? How do we break this cycle and switch our kids' brains out of that constant defend mode and back into discover mode? Well, Jonathan Haidt proposes 4 new collective norms, things we can all do together to give kids back the kind of childhood they actually need. Okay, so rule 1, no smartphones before high school. A basic phone that just calls and texts is fine. Rule 2, no social media before 16. The adolescent brain just isn't developed enough to handle that level of intense social performance and comparison. Rule 3, phone-free schools. This gives kids a 7-hour break every single day to focus and, actually talk to each other. And finally, Rule 4, more independence and free play. We have to fight that urge to overprotect and just let our kids take small risks and figure things out on their own. But, and this is maybe the most important part of the whole plan, you cannot do it alone. It's just not possible. If you're the only parent who says no to a smartphone, your kid is going to feel punished and totally left out. But when groups of parents or entire schools act together, the norm itself changes. All of a sudden, the healthier choice becomes the easier choice for everyone. So, where does that leave us? Look, this isn't about blaming parents, and it's not about demonizing technology. It's about recognizing that we've run this massive, uncontrolled experiment on our own children, and the results are in. They're not good. The real question now is, can we act together, collectively, to give them back the freedom they deserve to have a real childhood?